I do not have any more questions, but we actually have questions from the audience. Okay, so Guna actually asked this question, like if we use like Privacy Ninja as our DPO, when we still get hacked, will the company still be liable for any punishment, things like that?
I understand this question. I'll take that as well. So to answer to Guna, thank you, Guna. So if any business were to appoint us, Privacy Ninja, as your outsourced DPO, we will come in, we'll make sure you are fully compliant to the PDPA. Okay, we'll basically, if you are totally not compliant, you get the overhaul, best practices, okay, documentation all done, awareness all done to your employees, and constantly monitoring with both the twice a year surprise audit to always keep your employees at the tip of their toes. But I have to stress that no company, no organization, even individuals, no one is 100% safe from hacking, right? If a hacker tries hard enough over time, has enough data, one day he will, if he really wants to go after you, he will be able to. So businesses should always have in mind that they're not totally safe. They should do all they can to stay protected. And with regards to the question, if they appoint us as a DPO, they're still hacked, will the company still be liable? Definitely, yes. So as of now, PDPC, okay, will still go after the company because it is the organization's responsibility, okay, to be compliant to the PDPA. And how can you do that? Is by first appointing, okay, I would say a professional or provision DPO to ensure that things are done to get them compliant. And this DPO will also make sure that whatever good practices that should be performed, that are currently not being performed, okay, in terms of maybe even cybersecurity, all this bring forth to management's attention and get this covered. So again, I stress back, no one is totally hack-free. If a hacker wants to go after you, one day eventually he may be able to. Just to also touch on that, recently PDPC also has sent out public consultancy papers, and one of the proposed items is also to hold employees responsible, okay, for the PDPA if there's a breach performed by an employee. So as of now, again, PDPA or PDPC will go after the organization. But eventually, okay, in what we think will really happen probably the next year or two, is that employees who get a company suffer data breach because they did not follow the implemented policies, they are also liable. They may face up to $5,000 fine or even 6 months jail time.
But to add on to Guna's question, so what we do is if you show our penetration test reports and all the SOPs that we have implemented, so what PDPC will come in to see would be the before and after, things that you have done and you have fixed before even the hack has happened. So with all this in place, it will help you fight your case strongly. This is what we actually specialize in helping you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, we have another question from Michael. I think Michael would want to elaborate a little. Okay, how will a DPO help? Because you did talk about the recent cases of cyber attack, and what Michael was asking is how will a DPO help with the cyber attack on top of what you have shared earlier?
Okay, I'll touch on this first, and I believe Dexter also can add on. So for bigger companies, you may have your CTO, your CISO, right? Your Chief Technology Officer, or if you're big enough, you have a Chief Information Security Officer, right? But these people, these personnel will work closely with a DPO to ensure that the security is in place, protection is in place. For smaller firms, of course, they don't have all these many C-suite individuals. So then a DPO, because to get the company compliant to the PDPA, and again, I mentioned in this digital era, a lot of data, okay, be it personal or not, or even corporate data, is being stored on the cloud. So to a large extent, data privacy is closely linked to cybersecurity, and a provision DPO will ensure the necessary protection, retention periods, even good practices, and implementing processes in place to be followed by the employees would address all these issues. So most of the time, it's due to a human error that a data breach happens, right? No cyber hygiene and such similar incidents. So a good DPO will ensure these are being followed through, do the regular audits, catch the employees, right? Make sure that this do not happen again. Dexter, you want to add on?
Yeah, so a DPO would also actually help make sure that penetration tests are being done regularly. So this is actually a very important thing that has been missed out in a lot of even big organizations in Singapore, because a lot of them don't even do once a year, or some even never even do one before in their life. Yeah. this is one of the major things that is happening nowadays in Singapore and also overseas.
And when we say the word cyber attack, most people may straight away link it to, oh, a hacker go and penetrate my systems, hack my website, gain access to my system. But there's actually a lot of ways, or rather so many different attack vectors that will enable a perpetrator to enter your systems, enter your databases. It can be because a employee's workstation is compromised, right? Somehow his logins or his device not protected, and through that, that is the first entry whereby a hacker can come into the company system. So cyber attack is actually very broad, and it all boils down to starting from the employees, cyber hygiene, good practices in place, and then followed by the relevant protections and prevention methods.
Okay. Another question that we have is if there is a suspected case of another company breaching the PDPA by selling the data to third party, as an individual or company, how or is it possible to actually report such suspicions?
Okay, I'll take that on as well. So just to share that the PDPA is actually a complaints-based regime. So what kind of typical scenarios are there? First, okay, I'll touch on 4. First is that customers complain. They complain to PDPC. Very simple. Simply go to PDPC's website, scroll down, DP complaint. Click the web form, fill up your details, and PDPC is obligated to investigate every single complaint. So can you imagine you don't even have a DPO? First question that PDPC will ask you is, who do you appoint as a DPO? Do you have all your data protection management program or plan in place, documentation, practices? Why this complaint come in? Can you justify? Okay, is it valid or invalid? So you got to explain. So if you don't even have the DPO to protect you and address the question by PDPC, I'm very sure the penalty is going to be higher, you're going to kena. So that's only for customers' complaint. Second will be whistleblowing. So internal stakeholders. For example, an employee can complain to PDPC, hey, why my HR go and share more personal details about me to another of my staff when there's no need to, right? We can have a third kind of scenario that is a competitor, they arrow or they sabo another company. Hey, I know that IT company ABC don't have DPO, right? They go and fill up the form complaint. Then PDPC will come and investigate. Ask the ABC company, do you have a DPO? When do you appoint him? Do you have all DPMP, etc.? And last but not least, if you suffer a data breach, and this gets onto the news, right? Even before you yourself go and inform PDPC, right? Within the first 72 hours, get the necessary SOPs done, inform the data victims, if relevant, to speak to Singapore Police Force or even CSA. Then they will know that you don't have the policies in place. That's why you know SOP and you don't know how to properly manage a data breach. So going back to the question, is it possible to report such suspicion of a company violating the PDPA by selling personal data to third parties? Yes, you can do so. Go to PDPC's website. There's a web form that you can find. It can be a company, it can be an individual, a customer. Fill in the details. PDPC will do the rest.
Right. What are the common mistakes made by the companies in regards to the best and worst practices? So this question is from Guna.
Okay, I'll touch on a few first. Dexter, do feel free to jump in anytime.
Yeah.
So some of the common, I would say, mistakes or bad or worst practices would include, like we just now mentioned, using weak passwords. Because of it's always a balance that you have to strike between security and ease of access. So the easier that you want to gain access to data for you to perform your work every day, the less security there will be, right? So less security, more ease of access. Lesser or harder ease of access, you got more security. So simple example like password, you want to put, I don't want to remember 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? There are automated tools that hackers can use to brute force attacks. And also on the deep web or darknet, every time when there's a data breach, hackers will try to monetize this by publishing it online and getting buyers to buy over such data. Whoever the buyers is, they will definitely have nefarious intentions, either to buy it to do spam call or scam calls, right? Or even just to try to hack into your accounts, try to see if they change your password, gain access, try to monetize off there, ask you for ransom. So example, weak passwords. We also have sharing of accounts. So again, if 4 or 5 different employees share one account, let's say to your CRM, because of one of the employees, right, his credentials got compromised, they're not able to find out who was the one that caused this to happen. So then it's very hard also for the company to mitigate and plan proper measures moving forward. So we always say, whoever has access to personal data, be it online, cyber, or in a physical environment. Make sure you have in place restriction policies. Who needs to have most access to personal data? Maybe only the manager or high-level personnel, followed by the rest of the executive. Log in place who has access and when did they access the data. So audit trails also very, very important. One more thing I'll share also is, again, we keep going back to penetration testing. So companies, they'll keep having the mindset, we're just a small firm, not even earning, let's say, multi-million per year, right? We're just comfortable. Which hacker want to come after us? We don't even do marketing. Would they bother to can they even find us in the first place? So then when they really do chance upon you through automated tools, they come after you, that's when you go through the trouble, then you will find out how painful the mistake was. Dex?
There's also many mistakes, such as it can be as simple as keeping your software up to date. There's a lot of companies do not even keep their software up to date. They are still using Windows 7 or still using a very, very old 5-6-year-old software without even any updates. So if we have accounting firms, traditional accounting firms, printing companies, they don't even know that Windows 7 is no longer having any more support. So it's very easy to get ransomware, very easy to get any kind of data breach from there, especially if you are sharing a network drive on Windows 7.
And one more thing I'll add on is also phishing attacks or spear phishing, right? Email spoofing. So normally when we do live demonstrations, we will randomly get audience to provide us their name cards on the spot. Okay, we will show them we're able to send an email from this person's exact email address to another person in the audience. Right, we're able to use his phone to call another person or even SMS. So all these spoofing activities are very easily done by hackers who possess the know-how. So with regards to phishing, you may see, why my finance send me a important urgent email asking me to make payment to an overseas vendor. So when quickly go and comply, send out the money, right? But you didn't check properly. You do not have in place the SOP to know who to check to. Is this really from your CFO, for example? Human error is always one of the biggest mistakes in the workplace.
Okay.
I think there's a few more questions coming up. Maybe we can move on.
Yeah, so we have like 2 questions. So this will be the last 2 questions. So the rest you can email us. Okay. So what would be the most severe penalty if companies don't hire DPO? Will there be any warning first? I think this question is regarding how the fine will work.
Okay, great question. Of course, we are in no position to answer on behalf of PDPC, but we definitely can say it's a case-by-case basis. And as previously mentioned, that the PDPA is a complaints-based regime, right? So based on who made the complaint, the seriousness of the complaint, and the possible implications if the complaint is totally valid, PDPC will come in, investigate, ask you, who do you appoint as a DPO? Do you have a DPO documentation? All this, is it all done? Are employees all aware of the obligations, policies? Such a long thing. You will not be able to smoke PDPC and tell them, oh yes, we have everything. They will want you to show the evidence or the proof. So again, going back, based on the seriousness or the possible implications of the complaint, they may or may not issue you a warning, which is also possible. They may give you a warning, or they may already, I would say, invoice you for financial penalty.
Right, thank you. So Privacy Ninja DPO, will you all do security audits for the website? And we also have another question from Gunnar, which is, my staff is actually not IT savvy, so how can we get them to secure themselves? Yeah, so I think these 2 questions are quite relevant. You can answer that at a go.
Sure. So the first question is, will Privacy Ninja DPO do security audits for website? Yes, Privacy Ninja does security audits for website. That's what we are very good at as well. But the DPO's job in any organization is to sound off to management what is the action plan needed to do based on possible lapses or risky activities. So if you are appointed as the DPO, we'll definitely do an audit on the on-site environment, both for the cyber as well. Okay, and then we will suggest to management it's time to do a VAPT or security audit on your website, your applications, or even your network. The management of the company will then understand what is the recommended action plan, and they'll make a decision based on the business risk, right? If they want to spend that budget to resolve these issues. We cannot mandate and force, you must do this, you must do this. But as a DPO, we will provide our professional 2 cents to sound off to management to make sure they understand and they're aware. Right? I hope I covered the answer for the first question. For the second question, so Gunnar, he has mentioned, my staff are not IT savvy at all. How do we get them to secure themselves? Okay, So we do provide cyber hygiene courses as well. We do provide PDPA awareness courses that contain cyber hygiene practices and all this. So then training is always a very integral part of how someone is able to both protect themselves and the company, right? If they themselves, their character is a very, I would say, they don't really care about cybersecurity, what they do is very loose, then definitely when they're working for a company, the important credentials that they're accessing company, corporate data, or sensitive data may get easily leaked because of the very nature of how someone conduct his or herself. So training is always very important. Send a staff for a training, they understand, go through a competency test, and last but not least, perform regular audits to catch them, reprimand them, include certain disciplinary clauses in their contracts, right? Because a company should protect its business. And if someone, your employment, is not following the implemented SOPs or procedures, that's something you have to think whether you still want to keep this employee or not.
And that's the job of the DPO also, to recommend whoever is touching data in the company, make sure they are sent for proper training.
All right. Thank you very much for the response to the question that our audience have. Okay, before we end this session, I would like to share something. So Blackstorm Consulting is actually having a giveaway of like materials if you indicate your interest to be the first few to actually use the Blackstorm Learn platform. So what exactly is Blackstorm Learn platform? So as a consultancy firm, we are actually launching a professional learning platform whereby we have experts sharing with you the first-hand stories and compressed knowledge that you would otherwise would have to spend many years to accumulate it. So we actually have like pre-recorded courses in the form of like audio, podcast, video activities, and eventually you can actually book a session with the instructor if you would love to find out more and also get customized advice. So in the future, there will be like actually more feature like having a community in which you can actually mingle with the rest of the people and engage in a live webinar on the single platform. Okay, so because it's no longer just about learning theories, we actually strive to actually provide you a platform whereby you can solve your business problem with a click away. Okay, so if you are interested, leave your details to get notified for any updates regarding this platform, and we will send you the resources such as the Business Sentiment 2020 reports for Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand, and also an e-guide on the proven way to actually help business to weather the storm, which is the pandemic right now. Okay, so we actually come to the end of this webinar, and we hope that you actually benefit from this session. And do drop us an email if you have any queries or even any question to the speakers and guests here today. Okay, so thank you once again for being with us today, and thank you the speakers for the very insightful sharing things like that. So we hope to actually see you again soon. Okay, I'll leave the slide here so you can note down the email address. Okay.
Thanks, Jeslin. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for attending.
Thanks, Andy and Dexter.
Have a good day. Stay safe, everyone. Bye-bye.